Hello everyone, I welcome you all for the series of Unlock the Officer Within You. I'm your host Sumant, a UPSC and productivity coach. And today we have with us our student Prashanth, who scored rank 78 this year. And let us understand from Prashanth today on how he actually unlocked the officer within him in each of the stages that made him to become what he is today. Prashanth, first of all, thank you for accepting our invitation and being here with us. So as we aim in this series, Prashanth, let's not give generic advice, rather very specific on what you did, especially in each of the stages. Okay. So Prashanth, before we go ahead, can you just briefly introduce to the audience about yourself?
Hello everyone. So this is Dr. Prashanth. I've graduated from Madras Medical College in June 2022, and I started my prep somewhere around August 5th, 2022. So I kind of remember the date vividly, and it's been a journey of around 8.5 months, and at the end of it, I think I've been able to make it with medical science as my optional. So I've got rank 78 across India this year. And I think I really need to thank Sumant sir and the whole team of National IAS for being part of my success journey, because at the end of the day, it's all about the guidance that matters in this journey, and what makes it, successful and pivotal is all about the guidance that's available and personalized, I would say, and I'm extremely thankful for the same.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Prashanth. So let's break down how you really approached in each of the stages, Prashanth. So when you started this journey, being from a medical background, one thing I generally notice with medical students is you all are from specialist background. But as you come into a generalist exam, how do you transition in this journey? Could you please throw a little light on that?
Well, I think this generalist versus specialist debate has been already there for quite some time, and I don't really think any subject is a generalist job or a specialist job, because it's not like a school wherein we get to study different subjects. In fact, even if it's under graduation, it's more of either the humanities stream or maybe the arts stream or the science stream, as we call it. So I think it's all about perceptions, and to move into a generalist mindset, as it's called, I don't think took me a long time, because I think I was always interested into this. So it's the interest that matters is what I feel, sir.
Got it. So in this regard, Prashanth, the first stage of the exam, which is prelims, I know how much you have practiced with respect to so many mocks that you did. So reflecting upon, okay, do you feel that you had to do so many mocks to gain that particular skill? Or is there something beyond just the numbers that you did that is important for cracking your prelims? Could you throw light upon that?
I think especially as a first attempter, I really had to give quite a number of mocks, and mocks definitely help you refine your answer making skills. I think it's more because in the prelims you get to understand where to stop and where to start. Probably around 85 was my sweet spot to attempt the number of questions, and the strike rate with respect to the number of guesses. All this is something that I could gauge only through mocks, and I still feel that I did give the apt number of mocks, and I would extremely recommend the same for any aspirant.
Absolutely. So here, to highlight what Prashanth mentioned, it's about knowing your sweet spot, and it's about knowing how much practice you need to gain that particular skill. The focus should be on the skill and not on the number of the papers that you solve. Very rightly said, Prashanth. So in this regard, Prashanth, just going a little back from your prelims, about your note making. So how was the process of your note making, and how did you link the notes that you have made to the previous year questions? So in that regard, what action steps you took? Could you break it down for the students?
I really didn't have very extensive notes, and what I had was maybe a one-page note max, I would say. And most of the notes that I took were kind of, those facts which probably were not there in a particular textbook, and probably something that was new to me, or it could be something on the current affairs aspect which was dynamic, which probably I might forget, or it was volatile. So these are the things that probably I jotted down somewhere, and I wouldn't really call it notes, but maybe volatile stuff that I had to, look up at the last moment. So this is all that I did, and there was nothing much to connect, except that I made it a point that I would look that up, a day or two before the prelims.
Absolutely. Students, I hope all of you are able to notice that every person has their own style of gaining the knowledge in this exam. It's about you discovering the style that suits you and not just imitating what others are doing, right? Perfect. And here, Prashanth, when it comes to this exam, it is said that UPSC is not difficult, it is different. If you don't get the difference, it becomes very difficult. And the difference is about the current affairs playing a role here on shaping the syllabus of this exam. How did you ace it in your first attempt in understanding the current affairs, and what according to you is current affairs for this exam?
I think current affairs happens to be the dynamic portion of the syllabi, and of course, putting across the syllabus, I think for the mains we have a clear-cut point as to where to start and stop. But for the prelims, I don't think anything much is defined, except that it's more of affairs of relevance and current affairs. These are the kind of vague terminologies that exist in the syllabus, and I think I'll split this into three. So the prelims and the mains and the interview with respect to current affairs. And putting it across, I think for the prelims, what I did was more of the compilations that exist. Any compilation that suits you, I think that is the best to go with for the prelims. And for the mains, I think newspapers are more important because you get to, understand the areas of importance, not just from your POV, but also from the UPSC's point of view. And for the interview, I think the newspapers are the Bible, more because you need to emulate upon opinions and probably derive your own opinion out of it. So I think it's basically like a judge listening to both sides of the argument and giving a judgment. So that's exactly what's expected out of you in an interview as well. So for that, I think you'll have to go through the newspapers, and that is where the current affairs comes into play. So I think this is what I did basically with respect to the current affairs, and it's a very dynamic subject. It's not like the static area where you can read up from the textbook and there's a one-point source. So what your source is and what you wish to follow is again totally up to you. But I think this is what I followed and it worked out for me.
Absolutely. So to just break down what Prashanth mentioned when it comes to the knowledge phase, it's about making your notes, aligning your notes with the previous year questions and making it UPSC ready, because end of the day, he is the person whom you need to defeat. And the last stage is about aligning your concepts with the current affairs. Prashanth, well, rightly done. I'm very glad that you implemented the system effectively and did your notes. So coming to the next part of this stage, which is the real stage of skill that is needed in this exam. It is said that it's 30% knowledge, 70% skill, practice and presentation. Firstly, can you please share your experience on this ratio? How much do you think skill really matters in this exam, according to you?
As sir has rightly pointed out, I think it's in fact I would put it at 20s to 80 more, because I think content wise there are veterans who probably have even better content than mine, or of any single person. I mean, someone who's into his 6th or 7th attempt will probably have a better answer than what a 1st or 2nd attempter will be able to do naturally. But then I think it's totally about the skill and the presentation that you put across, because when it comes to presenting the same answer, someone who's been checking your copies would have totally been tired and fed up, reading the same old content. So when it's easy for him to grasp, I think naturally there is an inclination to give you a point or two more. So I think that's all the difference is about. And that is the role of handwriting, which is downplayed in general. But I think it is again important, because when your handwriting is legible, of course it doesn't need to be calligraphic, but if it's legible, I think it's more than enough. If it's illegible, naturally no one would put in more efforts than you to try to understand what you've written. So that's, I think, one. Second, I really didn't get the time to underline the keywords as they actually tell you to do. I think that was something different that I did, but ultimately underlining keywords only helps if you've completed the paper. So completion of the paper and giving quality answers, addressing the demand as what my fellow peers would again accept with, is what I too did. And I think I only drew diagrams where it was needed. Merely drawing a diagram for the sake of doing it, I don't think I ever believed upon it. And it only adds virtue and value probably if you give something new in the diagram. If you draw a diagram and you repeat the same thing again in points, then probably it's just filling up pages. So I think it's about playing a balanced approach and nuanced way of putting across the paper. And again, a little of knowledge in English definitely helps, because your answers are faster when it flows through. And again, language is no barrier, because there are people who do it in regional languages and they do amazingly well as well. So I think whatever it be, planning it beforehand and having pointers at hand. I think as sir mentions about the notes, I think that is the kind of notes that I had. Probably 1 or 2 bullet words. That's all that I would do, for a particular introduction, conclusion, or the body for a particular type of answer. So I think that's what is expected beforehand.
Absolutely. Very well said, Prashanth. So to just elaborate what Prashanth mentioned, it is about how you express your answer and having frameworks in earlier extent itself, so that understanding and being empathetic towards the examiner is the key. See, end of the day, it's not the full-time business of the examiner to really check your paper, right? As Prashanth rightly mentioned, give him what he wants, he'll give you what you want. And Prashanth rightly followed that, and I'm very glad Prashanth made it in the first attempt itself, right? And coming to the last stage, Prashanth, did you expect this typical question in the board that you being a doctor and a gold medalist, why are you entering into civil services? Did you get that question in the interview?
Well, I was actually expecting that question, but I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, I never got that question to be asked. Maybe because I was already into quite a few leadership positions as well. I was part of the IAS, its national president for the students wing and the national chairperson for the UNESCO Bioethics Council. So being part of different NGOs and, having a record on all these counts, I think probably they never chose to ask me that question. So I think that was about the interview.
So here, students, I hope all of you understood that it's a myth that you do not fear just because you're a doctor that the UPSC board will grill you in. Being a doctor also, you have absolutely the right to enter into civil services, because if you wish to do a bigger administration wider than what you're just doing as a doctor, service is meant for you. Perfect. And here, right from the day one, Prashanth, I noticed that you had tremendous momentum and the urgency of success in this exam. And that made you crack the exam in the first attempt, which we just saw in the journey. Could you please throw a light upon how this exam in your first attempt is a very important to be at your best and follow the right momentum and mentorship to be able to crack in the first attempt itself? Can you please share about the need of a momentum and how feedback and mentorship plays a role in this journey? Can you please throw a light on that?
I think the motto of IAS goes by excellence in action, and that is totally that I believed upon. And naturally, the bestest of abilities come out in your first attempt. So that is probably why it is pivotal that you get through in the first attempt, and be it with respect to the guidance and the motivation. I think again it is pretty important for you to analyze your mistakes, and to learn from our mistakes is a time-consuming process, and that's where the role of guidance comes in, where Sir has been pivotal in telling you the mistakes of what other candidates, be it in the previous years or be it my own peers, if they've made a mistake and if I repeat the same mistake, then it costs me huge. But if Sir has been able to point me out those mistakes, that has given me the extra edge. So that is where I feel the role of feedback guidance comes into play, and the test series that I took up, I think that again has shaped my answers, be it in the prelims or mains, and try to refine. Basically, it's about a matter of refining your answers and shaping you to what you are, because it's about coal being turned into diamond. So at the end of the day, UPSC wants to pick up diamonds. And that's exactly the beauty of this exam, because it's 13 lakh to being filtered to maybe 1,000 plus, and I think all the 1,000 are equally deserving within having to rank them from 1 to 1,000. Again, it's a choice that has been given. So to make the best out of it is what is needed, and to drop the momentum halfway through is not something that I was convinced about.
Beautifully said, Prashanth. So in this regard, Prashanth, you have such a holistic personality and a lot of activities happening around you. Over the last 1 year, did you embrace those activities, or you sacrificed everything for the exam? What did you do over the years?
Honestly, I think I've not sacrificed all those. In fact, I still happen to be part of the IMA. I'm still the Junior Doctors Network co-convener, and I think I've been carrying out all my activities as it is, and it really doesn't require you to read 16 hours a day as how the myth goes through. In fact, there are quite a few myths that are associated with the UPSC journey, and I think that most of them are myths per se. It's not about really being followed in practice, and most often it does feel like, okay, he's done it through, so he gives this talk, but that is kind of the mutual perception. Even I would have been on the other side of the corner thinking the same. But at the end of the day, you will have to trust the process, and you will have to trust people who made the cut as well. So I think that is where the difference lies. And having understood that perception and difference, I think I've been able to cross the border and be on this side of the chair. I think that's all that makes a difference.
Thank you, Prashanth, for being raw and real in this regard. Students always understand that UPSC is a process, and when you follow the process, you build those skill sets within you. And when those skill sets are built, you automatically crack the exam. So follow the process, be in the momentum, and there's nothing like a secret sauce. It's just about following the right process, following the right mentorship, and keep on practicing in the right way, right? Amazing, Prashanth. I wish you all the best for your career, and thank you for being raw and real here and helping the students get the clarity of the UPSC preparation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for the guidance as well. Thank you.